When I was 6 years old, my mother took me to see Segovia playing in Town Hall in New York City. And I was so enthralled with his concert that afterwards I said, "That's it! That's what I want to be, a classical guitarist." And she looked at me and she said, "Yeah, sure." She took me at 7 years old to see Segovia. I said, "That's what I'm going to do. Can I have a guitar?" "No." "You want a ukulele?" I said, "No, I don't want a ukulele." "Can I have a guitar?" "No." 8 years old. "No." 9 years old. She said, "Okay." So at 9 years old, I got a guitar, and I got a guitar teacher. And after 10 months, my guitar teacher said, "I need to give you to my teacher because you're now ahead of me." It's a great mystery. Where do these ideas come from? And then what's my part in all of this? And what I found is my part in all of this is to get out of the way and let it flow, you know? And so there's no real separation anymore. There's no me and the music, and it's just to let it flow. And I find that the process for me in terms of writing music is there's a point at which it flows, and I can't get it down fast enough, right?
Yeah.
And then at some point, I start to think about it, you know, and I keep working, but now I'm thinking about it. And I'm thinking, oh, this would be clever. Hey, I use that here. This would be really smart. I'll use this here, right? And then the next day I get up and I go back and I listen to what I did. I play what I did, and I go, right at the point where I thought I was being clever, that's where I don't like this anymore. Sometimes I just play and an idea comes. And I just write that down. And several ideas come, at different times. I write it down, right? And maybe that's all that happens that day. Come back the next day and I go, which of these ideas am I attracted enough to maybe make a piece out of? And so I pick something and I'll work on it. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes it's a real struggle, because it's very easy to go to familiar places that you've been before. But sooner or later, something happens. I don't know how. And you go, oh, I like that. That was inspired. And then you pursue that, And I think it's more like understanding that feeling of, ooh. You want to have a lot of ooh, rather than, But when I started writing, what came out was kind of simple, melody, harmony. And in college, people were writing like, at that time, much more abstract than now even. I mean, completely off the wall. Just really, and I couldn't relate to that then. I don't relate to it so much now, but I couldn't relate to it at all then. And you were not considered a serious composition student unless you did that. So I didn't even go in college to and then at the very end of my college stay, I noticed there was like this group of musicians almost meeting privately with this one theory teacher. And like a door, seriously, like a door opened up and I heard the most beautiful music I ever heard. And he was teaching in this more, tonal style. And I thought, oh, I want to do that. By the time I reached my mid-20s, I knew that I had to do this other thing. And I wasn't sure how to, what does that have to do with classical guitar? I really didn't know. And I remember when I came back from England, I made a recording. And the recording was called Double Exposure. And one side's classical guitar, and the other side was jazz, including, classical guitar pieces that I would then have a jazz ensemble, like, for instance, Villa-Lobos Etude Number 8. Wow, this is really cool. And then I started playing with really good groups. And I love the material, like, for instance, Cantigas de Santa Maria. That's why I first heard that playing with the Waverly Consort in Alice Tully Hall. So this is great, but as a composer, you know, I started hearing, wow, these other harmonies, like harmonies and fourths and stuff. And that's when I formed Jazz Antique, where it was like, because I could hear with the medieval and Renaissance music a more modern treatment, a more jazz-like treatment, and also compositionally, you know. And all of a sudden, I was doing what this guy 5 years ago said would be great, but I couldn't imagine how to do that. I was quite naturally now, organically, merging medieval, Renaissance, Baroque, and jazz, you know. And that's how Jazz Antique came about. I was very fortunate that I was teaching. When I say I was very fortunate, I mean, I think it's wonderful to teach 4-year-olds, but that's not my gift, right? Mm-hmm. That I could teach at the college level from when I first started teaching. My first job after I graduated from Manus was teaching at the University of Connecticut. So I was already teaching at the college level. And for me, that was good because I was just teaching what I knew. You know, I didn't have to really think about it too much. At the time, I thought I was a good teacher. Later on, I realized I didn't know how to teach at all. Because what I was doing was I was just teaching what I did, which is not a teacher so much, you know. Like Segovia used to do that. Segovia used to say, do it this way. And that was it. And if you didn't do it that way, out. Now, look, Segovia is a great hero, but anyone who studied with him knows he was a dictator. My way or the highway, you know. And I think what I came to realize is that my job as a teacher is to help the student become whoever they're going to become, to reach their own potential, to stimulate them to have their own ideas. You know, what's the point of me just telling them, I could show them I do this and this is why I do this and here's how I hear that, but ultimately that has to come from the student. So you're working with them to develop that. Obviously at a certain stage, that's not helpful. They need to, look, that's great, that's not so good, blah, blah, blah. But then after a while, once they get to be proficient, it's like, what's the point of just having them mimic you, you know? You know, we all have the me channel, like watching TV, the channel of me, my thoughts, my this, my that, my hopes, my fears, my anger, my depression, my whatever it is, you know. He says, but after a while, you want to know, is there anything else on TV? And what else there is everything else. It's a natural progression once you write something that you wanted to go out into the world. What a great thing, you know, to do the thing that you would naturally do anyway. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's like music is just an expression of your humanity.